It was a cold February evening in 2018. Snowflakes drifted gently from the sky, but they melted as soon as they touched the streets of Boston. The air was crisp, and the city lights twinkled against the soft white snow. Olivia Hayes, a 34-year-old single mom, had just finished dinner with her 8-year-old son Noah at a small Italian restaurant. The warm aroma of pasta and fresh bread still lingered in the air as she reached into her purse to pay the bill. As she handed over her hard-earned cash, she had no idea that the next 10 minutes would change her life forever. Olivia turned to grab her coat when the entire restaurant suddenly fell silent. It was as if someone had pressed pause on the world. Confused, she looked up and saw a tall man walking through the door. Her heart skipped a beat when she realized who it was: Keanu Reeves. Yes, the famous movie star. He was dressed simply in a black jacket, jeans, and a black beanie pulled low over his forehead. His dark eyes scanned the room, and he had a kind but mysterious smile, the kind that could melt even the coldest winter night. But it wasn't his fame or his entrance that shocked Olivia. It was the way his eyes locked onto hers, like he knew her, like he had seen her before. Olivia felt her breath catch in her throat. Why was he looking at her like that? It wasn't just a glance. It was a deep, searching gaze, as if he were trying to remember something important. Keanu's eyes flicked briefly to Noah, who was busy buttoning his coat, then back to her. He hesitated for a moment, as though he was debating something important. Then, with slow, careful steps, he walked towards her table. "Hi," he said softly, his voice warm and familiar, just like in the movies. "I'm sorry to bother you, but—" He paused, looking slightly uncertain. "You remind me of someone I knew a long time ago." Olivia blinked, unsure how to respond. The entire restaurant was watching now, but Keanu didn't seem to care. He was focused entirely on her, his expression a mix of surprise and something deeper, something Olivia couldn't quite place. She forced a polite smile. "Oh, I don't think we've met before," she said, gripping Noah's hand gently. "Unless you hang out at parent-teacher conferences or soccer practice?" Keanu chuckled softly, and the sound was so disarming that Olivia felt herself relax just a little. "Not exactly," he admitted, his lips curling into a small smile. Then he looked at Noah again, as if seeing something familiar in his face. "Your son? He has the same smile as—" Keanu stopped himself suddenly, shaking his head as if dismissing an impossible thought. "Never mind. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make this awkward." Before Olivia could ask what he meant, the restaurant manager appeared beside them. "Right this way, Mr. Reeves," the man said, his voice filled with excitement but still professional. Keanu nodded but didn't move right away. Instead, he reached into his coat pocket, pulled out a small folded note, and handed it to Olivia. "I don't usually do this," he said, looking a little nervous. "But if you ever want to talk, or if you need anything at all, please call me." Olivia stared at the note, stunned. Before she could say anything, Keanu gave her one last meaningful look and walked toward his table. With slightly trembling fingers, she unfolded the paper. It wasn't just a phone number. It had a message written in neat, slanted handwriting. "You're stronger than you think." Noah tugged at her sleeve, his voice curious and innocent. "Mom, who was that guy? He seems nice." Olivia swallowed hard, still trying to process what had just happened. "Just someone who thought I looked like someone else," she said softly. But deep down she knew there was more to the story. There had to be. As they stepped outside, the cold Boston air stung Olivia's cheeks. She clutched Noah's hand a little tighter as the snowflakes continued to fall, swirling around them like tiny frozen secrets. The note in her pocket felt heavy, like a puzzle piece that didn't quite fit. She replayed Keanu's words in her mind. "You're stronger than you think." Why would he say that? Why did he look at her like she was someone he needed to remember? Noah, oblivious to his mother's racing thoughts, laughed as he stuck out his tongue to catch snowflakes. Olivia smiled at him, pushing her thoughts aside. Being a single mom meant protecting him from her worries, even when they came wrapped in mysterious notes from Hollywood stars. When they got home to their small, cozy apartment, Noah kicked off his shoes and ran to his room, humming a tune. Olivia, still in shock, sank into the worn armchair in the living room. She pulled the note from her pocket and stared at the number. Should she really call him? Her eyes drifted to an old photo on the shelf. It was a picture of her and Noah's father, Daniel, taken 9 years ago. They had been at the beach, laughing, arms wrapped around each other. He had been the love of her life, her best friend, her everything. But a car accident had taken him away when Noah was just a baby. The grief had been unbearable, a wound that never truly healed. For years, she had convinced herself that she didn't deserve love again. Her only job was to be strong for Noah. nothing more. But now, Keanu Reeves, one of the most famous men in the world, had looked at her like she was someone he had lost. And suddenly, all those walls she had built around her heart felt a little weaker. Later that night, after Noah had fallen asleep, Olivia sat alone at the kitchen table, her phone in her hand. She stared at the note again, her thumb hovering over the keypad. Before she could talk herself out of it, she dialed the number. The phone rang once, twice. Hello. His voice was calm, unmistakable, and somehow comforting. Olivia hesitated. Hi, this is Olivia. From the restaurant earlier. There was a pause, then his tone softened. Olivia, I wasn't sure you'd call. I almost didn't, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. But I need to know, why did you give me that note? Why did you look at me like that? Keanu sighed, his voice carrying something heavy, maybe sadness, maybe regret. Because you remind me of someone I lost, he said quietly. Someone who meant everything to me. Olivia's heart ached. I'm sorry, she said sincerely. I don't mean to bring up the past, he continued, but when I saw you and your son, it was like I was seeing her again. And for a moment I felt like, maybe the universe was giving me a second chance to make things right. Tears welled up in Olivia's eyes. What happened to her? She asked softly. There was a long silence before he spoke again. Her name was Lily. We were young and in love, but life took us in different directions. I left to chase my dreams, and by the time I realized she was my home, it was too late. She died in an accident before I could tell her how much she meant to me. Olivia covered her mouth, a quiet sob escaping. She understood loss. She knew what it meant to live with an ache that never really went away. I'm sorry, Keanu said gently. I didn't mean to bring all of this up. I didn't want to walk away without telling you that you're not alone. You deserve to know that. Olivia wiped her tears and spoke in a soft voice. Thank you. I think I needed to hear that. For the first time in years, she felt something deep inside her. Hope. Not the kind from fairy tales, but hope that life could still have kindness, healing, and love. They sat in silence for a while, letting the quiet connect them. Snow kept falling outside Olivia's window, and she felt like something special was beginning. In the days after that call, Olivia felt like she was in a dream. Keanu's words stayed in her mind, popping up when she saw her reflection in a window or when she heard Noah's laughter. She tried to ignore it, telling herself it was just a random moment. But deep inside she knew it was more. 2 weeks later, as Olivia left Noah's school after a parent-teacher meeting, her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen and froze. It was a message from Keanu. Hi Olivia, I hope I'm not bothering you. I just wanted to check in and see how you're doing. Her heart started beating fast. She read the message over and over. She wanted to ignore it, but she couldn't. After staring at her phone for a few minutes, she finally replied. I'm doing okay, thank you. How about you? His reply came almost right away. Better now. Can I ask you something? Olivia's stomach twisted. She hesitated, then typed back. Sure. Would you let me take you and Noah to dinner? Just as friends. No pressure. She stared at the screen. Part of her wanted to say no. She liked her life to be simple and safe. But another part of her, the part that was lonely and a little brave, whispered that maybe this was what she needed. That Friday, Olivia and Noah went to a cozy diner just outside the city. Keanu was already there, sitting in a corner booth. When they walked in, he stood up and smiled warmly. Hi, he said, his eyes soft as he looked at Noah. And you must be the coolest kid in Boston. Noah smiled big, his shyness disappearing because Keanu was so friendly. They sat in the booth, and for the first time in a long time, Olivia felt something unexpected, relaxed. Keanu listened to Noah's stories, laughed at his jokes, and asked questions. But every now and then, he would look at Olivia with a deep, quiet expression she couldn't quite understand. Toward the end of the meal, Noah went to the restroom, leaving Olivia and Keanu alone. The air between them felt different, heavier. I need to tell you something, Keanu said softly. Olivia's heart squeezed. Okay. He looked down at his hands, thinking. When I saw you that night at the restaurant, it wasn't just because you reminded me of Lily. It was more than that. He paused, then looked into her eyes. You made me realize how much I've been running from my own pain. Seeing you and Noah reminded me of what really matters. Olivia felt a lump in her throat. Keanu, she didn't know what to say. I don't know what this is, he continued, his voice a little shaky. But I know I don't want to ignore it. I don't want to let life pass me by again, always wondering, what if? Tears filled Olivia's eyes. She wasn't sure if it was because of how honest he was or because she felt the same way. that for the first time in years she wanted to believe in something more. Before she could answer, Noah came back, smiling and chatting. Keanu quickly became his easy, fun self again, but the moment between him and Olivia stayed, like a song waiting for the next part. After dinner, Keanu walked them to their car. He knelt down to Noah's level and gave him a fist bump. "Take care of your mom, okay? She's pretty amazing." Noah grinned. "I know." Keanu stood up and turned to Olivia, his face unreadable. "Good night, Olivia." "Good night," she whispered, her voice thick with emotions. As she drove home, Noah talked excitedly in the back seat, but Olivia barely heard him. She was thinking about Keanu's words, about the way he looked at her, like she was someone worth staying for. When they got home, Olivia tucked Noah into bed and sat alone in the living room. She stared at her phone, her thumb hovering over Keanu's number. Her heart was torn between fear and hope. Finally, she sent a simple message. "Maybe we should see where this goes." His reply came almost right away. "I like that." For the first time in years, Olivia let herself believe that her story wasn't over yet. As weeks turned into months, Olivia and Keanu grew closer in ways they never expected. They had dinners, took walks in the park with Noah, and had long phone calls where they shared their fears and past hurts. Olivia was surprised by how real Keanu was. Even though he was famous, he was kind, humble, and a good listener. One evening, after Noah had fallen asleep, Olivia and Keanu sat on her small couch. The room was quiet except for the soft crackling of a candle. Olivia sipped her tea, looking at Keanu. "Can I ask you something?" she said. He nodded. "Anything." "Why me?" Her voice shook a little. "You could have anyone. Someone who isn't a struggling single mom with too much baggage." Keanu took her hand gently. "Olivia," he said softly, "it's because of who you are. You've been through so much, yet you still smile. You still love. You give everything to your son. That kind of strength is rare and beautiful." Tears filled Olivia's eyes, but she didn't look away. "I'm scared," she admitted. "I'm scared of losing someone again. I'm scared Noah will get attached and then..." She couldn't finish the sentence. Keanu squeezed her hand. "I can't promise I'll never make mistakes," he said. "But I can promise you this, I won't run. I won't let fear stop me from trying to be the man you and Noah deserve." His words broke something open inside her, and she leaned against him, resting her head on his chest. For the first time in years, she felt safe, like she could finally breathe. A few weeks later, Keanu surprised Olivia and Noah with a trip to the beach. It was the first time she had been there since Daniel's death. As they walked along the shore, Noah ran ahead, laughing as the waves crashed. Keanu slowed his steps and turned to Olivia. "I've been thinking a lot about us," he said, his voice serious but gentle. Olivia's heart pounded. "What about us?" He stopped walking and took her hands in his. "You've given me something I thought I lost, a sense of home. I don't want to waste another second wondering what could be. I want to build something real with you. Something that lasts." Tears rolled down Olivia's cheeks as she looked into his eyes. "I want that too," she whispered. Noah called from ahead, "Mom, look at this shell I found." Keanu grinned and stepped back, letting her go to Noah. As she ran to her son, the sight of her in front of the ocean took his breath away. She wasn't just someone he loved. She was someone who had changed his life. A few months later, on a cool autumn evening, Keanu invited Olivia and Noah to a small family gathering. Olivia was nervous but agreed. That night, as they sat around a fire pit, Noah fell asleep in Keanu's lap. Across the flames, Olivia watched them, her heart full. Keanu caught her gaze and smiled. "What?" he asked playfully. "Nothing," she said, shaking her head with a smile. "Just this. It feels like a dream." He reached out and took her hand. "It's not a dream, Olivia. It's real. And it's ours." For the first time in years, Olivia believed in forever. She didn't know what the future held, but for now, she had love, hope, and a man who made her feel like she was enough. And that was more than she ever imagined. If you enjoyed this story, share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories filled with adventure, mystery, and excitement. Your support means the world, and it helps keep these stories coming. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.